Hi, I'm Jeff Ritter. This is Global 4007 for LaRoche College, and it's freezing outside. It's one of the coldest days we've had in the year. Of course, it's just the beginning of the year. So here I am bundled up in my house, and I'm going to record a short video for you to go along with week one outline. So open up that PDF if you want to go read along with me. It's PDF under week one outline, and I'll start just as soon as you're ready. Well, you can stop and get ready. Now you're ready. Here you go. Let's take a look at week one outline. So, starting off, information communication. Okay, what are global classes? You know, of course, global class is one of the requirements we have at LaRoche for every student, global and community. So you're fulfilling one of your requirements. It's really about making sure that every student from LaRoche comes out with some understanding about global concepts. So that's what this class is designed to do. There's a number of classes you could choose from for the global setting. So you've chosen the internet and communication. So I hope you have some interest in these fields or some experience. That'll sure help you out. Expectation, of course, it's an online class. So show up online. You've got to be there. You've got to log in. You've got to do the readings. You got to watch the videos and participate in the discussion. So do explore the syllabus here first when you have a chance and find out exactly what all the requirements are of the class, and you'll find out. It can take a significant amount of time. Remember, it's an 8-week class. We're compressing 16 weeks into 8, so it's going to be a fair amount of time that you're going to need to devote to the class. But the convenience of the online world means that it's flexible and you could find the time yourself. So do get the work done and do participate as much as you can. All right, on to the next slide. ICTs, that's the subject of the class. In relation to development, information, and communication technologies. And of course, most of you have a lot of experience with these things. And we've got the 4 main concepts to work with: processors, memory, bandwidth, and storage. And you probably know from your lifespan already that these things have exploded, that we have much faster computers, much more storage, much higher bandwidth, and more memory than ever before. Computers have grown in their abilities to do work, to do analysis, and to store and make things happen quickly than ever before. And that's been a significant gain for the whole world. I'm just checking the thermometer. It's getting colder in here. I don't know what's going on with the heat. Well, anyway, you take a look. And all those things have grown and changed independently of each other, and without the government, without any main government organization saying now's the time to make faster computers. There's a symbiotic relationship between the speed of these things and the software companies and the other capabilities that come about. And if we were in a classroom today, I talked to you about all the things you do with computers that you take for granted that we couldn't do with computers just 5, 10 years ago, certainly 20 years ago. Impossible to rip the songs off a CD, to make a short video quickly. Even using Photoshop was difficult and slow and time consuming 15 years ago, 20 years ago for sure, because computers were just not fast enough. So these things build in speed and add in capability as people want to use them for faster things, and people want to accomplish a lot of things quickly, so the marketplace always knows that more speed is necessary. So that's what's been going on. It's very significant. But look at the next bullet point, of course, really significant. The ability to organize, disseminate, analyze, store, copy, and communicate information. You do these things every day, and they've improved your efficiency, your effectiveness, probably your education, probably your knowledge, certainly your relationships even. So all those things being possible, just imagine not having that ability or not having that power when you know it exists, when you know it's not really that expensive, but not having the availability all the time. And remember, probably most of the people in developing countries around the world today know about these things, certainly. They've got some experience with these, but they're just not available to everyone all the time as simply and as cheaply and inexpensively as they are for us. So it is not a real gigantic have-not world. It's a world of haves and somewhat haves, have sometime kind of world. But that's changing quickly too. But look at all the potential that those things have for improving the economy, improving health, improving education, all the things that we take for granted every day, and we're developing even faster today. Think about how those things help in development to improve countries and development, which really is just about standard of living. Matter of fact, that's on the next slide. Let's take a quick look. The things that development means: meeting the needs of the people. And these are things we think about every day. Certainly, we don't have to, we take for granted that they're available, that they're here to help us. The government is here to help us. Agriculture is going to feed us. Business is going to provide every single thing in our lives that government doesn't provide. So every single thing we buy, everything we participate in, all the economy things we do that government doesn't do is done by business. And that means it's done by individual, organization, or company for profit. So we take those things for granted, but they're happening every day. Health and education, of course, government takes a big role in those. But as you can see and figure out, ICTs relate to all of these in the United States and around the world. ICTs with health, education, business, agriculture, government. ICTs are a significant part of every single one of those areas and becoming more and more important every day. All right, go to the next slide. Zipping through this material. Here we are. We used to say underdeveloped. They don't say that anymore. That's an old-fashioned phrase to say underdeveloped country. Undeveloped country is not even a good phrase anymore because there is no such thing as an undeveloped country. Developing country is probably the most appropriate thing to say. There's certainly 15, 20 rich countries in the world, maybe more, 30 or 40 middle countries, and then at the bottom, the poorest countries in the world, where, and I've been to a few of them, so I can tell you from experience, there's poor, there's middle class, there's upper class. When you see Hans Rosling's video on statistics about the world, you'll understand this better, that we don't think about it correctly, most Americans and most people in the world. But when you see his video, you'll understand. There's prosperity almost everywhere in the world. There's middle class almost everywhere. Of course, there's poverty too, almost everywhere in the world. So amazingly, on this huge planet, or small planet, however you want to think about it, there's a huge diversity and disparity of wealth and the way people live around the world. So very interesting thing. We'll hear more about it from some of our videos that we looked at. And then at the bottom, least developed countries. And there's one of these in our hemisphere, right? Haiti is considered one of the least developed countries in the world. Unbelievably poor, right in our backyard, really. There it is. And very sad case. That's my computer making noises. All right, let's go to the next slide. Factors of development. Here's the things we're going to study to really understand. Now, we could go right into technology and look at all the tech that's being used to improve development, and we could look at technology projects and all the things that are happening very quickly around the world, successes, failures, middle, and the way they're assessed. But I think it's important to first understand the context and how these things happen. Most Americans and most people in the world, if you ask them, why are there some poor and some rich countries in the world, they really don't know. Believe me, a lot of experts really don't know either. But there's quite a bit of writing, quite a few books and theories about it. And we're going to try to get some background so we can at least understand it a little bit. And you can decide for yourself what you think is the most appropriate or most accurate theory. We don't really know. So we're going to have to understand economy. And that's going to be from the Commanding Heights video. You could read a gigantic macroeconomics textbook for the class, but the Commanding Heights video is probably better, more interesting, and you'll get through it. Well-made video on economics and the world, really. So I think you'll like that, and it's important to get that background. Society, culture, of course, make a big difference, but history, that's a combination of the two, is very significant in this field. So most significantly, the Cold War. Some of you remember it, some of you don't. Some of you have parents or grandparents who remember it, but most of you have heard of it. But even it's true today that most Americans, or a lot of Americans, don't really know that much about it. Young people didn't stop learning about it, I think, in high school a few years ago. But it's a very significant part of history, probably the most significant part of the 20th century after World War I and World War II. Cold War was a 40-year period that changed the face of the world. So very significant, and it had a big role to play in the development or lack of development in big parts of the world. So we're going to watch several hours, maybe 2-3 hours, I think, altogether, maybe 4, on a video on that. Again, you could read the textbook. I have lots of documents you can read on that, but the video is fantastic, and it has people who were part of it, people who were there talking about it. You'll learn a lot from that, and that'll be useful for you forever. Other factors, of course, important: geography, where places are in the world, and globalization is very significant. We're going to get some of that from watching Tom Friedman talk about his book, The World is Flat. Let's go to the next slide. Next page on the PDF. Reasons for the lack of development. We don't really know everything about this, but we know that unequal development is normal for the world. Everybody doesn't wait for everyone else to catch up before they get something better. People are striving, people are working, people want the best or more for themselves, and they're not waiting, and government or nobody else makes you stop. Soviet Union, of course, decided, or was based on a theory that says everybody should have the same before everybody gets better. But we saw how that worked out. In theory, it might have worked, but in practice, it's very difficult to put into effect and very difficult to change people from strivers and individuals and selfishness to selfless, for everybody, work for the good of everybody kind of people. Maybe it'll be possible in the future, but it didn't work out in that system, or hasn't worked out around the world quite yet, but maybe it will in the future. Another part of the reasons for lack of development certainly is the context of the Cold War, and this is going to be the one simple, a couple of sentences I want you to learn from this. During the Cold War, the Soviet Union and the United States both used as pawns developing countries around the world for their own advantage. And during that time period, we supported dictatorships, so did the Soviet Union. We provided weapons, so did the Soviet Union. What neither one of us provided was a pathway to development. We used those countries for our own gain during the Cold War, for good or bad, or whatever way you want to think about it. We know how it turned out. It didn't blow up the world. But during that time, those countries, when they could have developed, that's 40 years, when Japan and Germany, look what they did during those 40 years, of course with our assistance. But during that same time period, many countries around the world, independent from colonialism in the past, finally independent, were not developed or helped to develop institutions, leadership, capacities, all the things essential to bring about an improvement in the standard of living. Instead, they were used by the United States and the Soviet Union, sometimes in really despicable ways that are blemish on everybody's history. But that's the main point we're going to want to get from the Cold War. So when you watch those videos, think about that, and you'll see. And next point, not race, climate, intelligence, brain size, availability of food. All of these have been theories in the past. Some of them are racist theories, of course. Some of them are just plain dumb theories. But we can prove that none of them is most likely to be true. There's no essential innate reason why one group should be more successful or have more technology or have more development than another. Intelligence, as it says, is distributed globally, the same as stupidity, the same rate everywhere. So there's no way to say one group is just not developed because they don't want to try, or it's don't need to, or they don't have the intelligence. All right, so the next thing coming up is going to be watching the first section of the Cold War. Actually, it's going to be for the second week of class. For the first week, you're going to talk about the world is flat. We're going to do things on the discussion board. You're going to have a couple of different videos to watch as well. So let me know if you have any questions. There's the first video along with the first week online PDF. I don't think we'll do this every week, but I wanted to give you a short discussion face-to-face on video for you to absorb some of the main points. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll be seeing you.